Hi, and welcome to a Small Medium at Large podcast. I'm your host, Gail Hyson, bringing you intimate interviews beyond normal boundaries. I want to thank all of you guests for listening, liking, subscribing. I want to thank all you listeners for joining us for show after show. I think this might be our 126th show we'll be posting. And today we have a very, very special guest coming to us all the way from Ethiopia. So let me tell you a little bit about our special guest. Uh, Dawit Teferi is a travel specialist in Ethiopia with extensive experience guiding both independent and group tours to the country's major attractions, including the historical sites in northern Ethiopia, the vibrant cultures of the Omo Valley, and the unique natural wonders of the Simeon and Bale Mountains. His first and second degree in history from Addis Ababa University enables Dawit to impart knowledge-based history of Ethiopia to his travelers. His Master's of Arts research on intercommunity relationship at the town of Jinka in the Omo Valley was completed in 2007 and has been well accepted by scholars as a significant contribution to the study of the history of this remote part of Ethiopia. When not leading tours, Dawit conducts search on Ethiopia's diverse attractions. His book, analyzing the paintings of frequently visited churches of Ethiopia, was published in 2019. In 2023, he published another book titled Visiting Ethiopia with Understanding the Mursi, which explores the culture of one of the most fascinating groups of people in the Omo Valley. In addition to two cultural tours, Dawit enjoys taking travelers on birdwatching excursions, even in areas typically known for their cultural significance, such as Lalibela and Aksum. He believes these activities add extra value to the travel experience, a view he presented in his paper, Birdwatching as an Additional Product at Established Tourist Destinations in Ethiopia. The case of Aksum and Lalibela, presented in the 19th International Conference of Ethiopian Studies, was hosted by the University of Warsaw in August 2015. Dawit Teferi's third book, Visiting Ethiopia with Understanding the Hamir Nightjar Tours, is forthcoming. Let's welcome Dawit here today. Hi and welcome. It's a pleasure to
Hi
have
again.
you.
How are you? Nice to have you. Long way from Ethiopia.
It's so nice to know that I'm here in California, you're in Ethiopia, and yet we're meeting each other, and it's makes the world feel so small.
Yeah.
I want to say that I thought it was a great title that you're using for your series of books, and that your research and understanding and explaining was very clear and educational for me. I read your book in one entire day. I sat and read the entire book. And the photos are incredible that accompany the writing of your book and your explanations. I was learning about, it was like I was watching a documentary. I was learning about a history about a people I've known nothing about. So I want to
Mm.
thank you so much for sharing that with me. And I think that it's a wonderful thing what you're doing, and I don't think that a lot of tour guides go through the amount of education and explanations and understanding like you're bringing to your groups. So I think that's a fascinating thing. So I'll start with my first question, which is when you were growing up, did you ever think that you would be writing books and educating tourists with trips to these amazing places in Ethiopia? And were you familiar back then that there were the Mercy people? Or when did that happen for you?
Okay, that's interesting question. First of all, I would like to say a few things about my parents. My father, Teferi, my mother, Nigatwa, were very determined to educate me and my siblings. So they made sure we attended school regularly. Missing classes was not allowed. And every evening we are to study. until 9 p.m.
Wow.
No dinner was served before 9 p.m.
Wow.
Uh, even when we were in high school, we were expected to get up like around 3 a.m. or so to study. So that was really amazing determination. It was not common among other families. But especially about my connection with the Mursi and generally about traveling. When I was grade 4, there was a school book, like a social studies school book.
Hmm.
It has pictures of the Hamar people, not Mursi, however, the Dasanach people, the Erbori people, like black and white picture, sometimes like a full page. So
Hmm.
with my immediate older sisters, who were twins, we would flip the pages and say, oh, I like this, I like this, I like this. So I always remember that book. So it's interesting. So after maybe I joined a university. I found that book on the street in Addis, and I bought it for 3 birr. Actually, I bought 2 copies of that book because I really, really loved that book. So I bought 2 copies of it. I still have it. And I think that book really influenced the way I write, especially including photos. Even if the photos are not good from photography perspective, I
Yes.
always say they tell a story. As long as they tell a story, even if they are not good photos, I include. In that books, the photos are not that great, but they're really very memorable photos. Then I joined university. I studied history. I taught for 2 years in high school. I have to be honest here. I didn't like it. I didn't like teaching. One of the reasons is in Ethiopia, our population is really growing fast. We are not building schools not as fast. So at the result, the classrooms were crowded. So I remember probably in a classroom I had like grade 9 students, grade 10 students, like 50 of them, 60 of them in a single class. So I had to teach like 5 classes, 6 classes a day. So
Oh.
it was not educating them; it was like a meeting. Some of the most of the students I didn't know even their name the whole year. So I decided to change a profession. So I heard that there was an institute in Addis which trains people who have university education background as a tour guide. So I took that training with some of my friends, and then I became a guide. Immediately, I liked it. There was an opportunity to work in the office, like as a tour operator. I didn't like it, so I worked for about 9 months or so, and I said, no, 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 this is not for me. So then I started to go out for tours to northern Ethiopia, to southern Ethiopia, to the Omo Valley. Then I read books like guidebooks and something like that, but all those books are not satisfactory. I know they miss something. So I start to take notes. Actually, I should have written these books like 10 years ago, even 15 years ago. That was the plan. But I made a big mistake. That mistake was I tried to write a book with this detail covering the whole Ethiopia. So it took me so many years. So it was like in 20 maybe 15 and 2016, I decided I better try to write different books for different regions. So first I wrote a church painting book, and
Hmm.
then I was planning to write one book about the Omo Valley people, Mursi, Hammer, the Kara, the Desanet, the Nyangatomen, all of them. But again, when I saw the pace, no, 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 no. Again, this is going to take like many, many years. So I better do separately each group. So I wrote the Mursi first because they are changing fast.
Hmm.
Like, for instance, the tradition of lip plate is declining, the clothing style is changing. So I thought it's nice to finish it first. Then I so I did the Morsi first, then I'm doing now, the Hammer, it's almost done. Maybe in 1 month's time, it would be published. So that's how it started.
So did you grow up, where did you grow up and go to school? Was it in the same, was it in a city or
Okay,
did you
now I
live in
live
the
in Addis.
country?
And now I live in Addis. Addis Ababa is the capital city of Ethiopia.
Mhm.
The name is interesting. Addis means new. Ababa is flower, so it's new flower. It is not only the capital city of Ethiopia; it's also the diplomatic center of Africa because African Union is centered here. So sometimes we call Addis Ababa the Brussels of Africa. Brussels being the center of the European Union. So, but I was born in a town known as Fiche, 110 kilometers, like in miles, maybe 70 miles north of
Mhm.
Addis. It's a small town, but it has almost everything. Like it has a school, or it had a school when I was a student. It had high school. Most towns probably didn't have that. Running water, and electricity, but limited time. I remember like from midday to midnight. The electric supply was from midday to midnight. So it was small town, compact. You could go to most places walking. So I really
Mhm.
enjoyed it. Even I sometimes miss places like that because when you have like when you sit for hours in a traffic in Addis and like that. So it was a town like that. My father was like a civil servant in the Ministry of Education. Uh,
Mhm.
of course, he was his background was from the countryside. So I don't know how, but different from most other parents, he already knew that education was the way of creating opportunity for young people, for children. So he really, really pressed uh, us hard. Honestly, I didn't want to study much. I wanted to be a football player. I wanted to be a soccer in America. I wanted to be even a soldier.
Mhm.
But finally, I realized that I really love freedom. So I said, if uh, I became part of the Ethiopian army, no, when you become a member of an army, you need permission to visit your parents. You need permission to go somewhere. So the discipline is very tough. So I said, no, 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 I wouldn't have handled it. So I really, really am very grateful to my father, and also along with him to my mother. They were really, really determined. So, in short, it was in a small town known as Fiche, north of Addis.
And I would think they must be very proud with what you've done with the education that they insisted that all you children have. So it must be a
Yes.
great, they must be very proud to know that they put the work in and now they're seeing such wonderful results because you're doing things to help and work with other communities and people.
Yeah, they're very religious people in Ethiopia. The country is like a mix of Christians, Orthodox Christians, and Muslims. So my parents are Orthodox Christians. So both of them at different times, I took them to Aksum. Aksum is considered to be the holiest city of Ethiopia. That was
Oh,
there. Christianity was introduced already about the time when it was. It was in the fourth century. Christianity was
wow.
introduced in Aksum. Aksum, the first church in Ethiopia was built in Aksum by a king named. So I took them. The church doesn't exist, unfortunately, but my father, for instance, took Holy Communion there, which is very, very important for him. My mother also, I took her there. So my plan was to take them to interesting places in Ethiopia, especially in the low season. But unfortunately, my father died in 2004, and my
Mm.
mother also is not sick, not in a good position to travel. So unfortunately, that happened. But I'm really glad I took them to Aksum because Aksum means a lot
Yes.
to them and a lot to Ethiopian Orthodox Christians.
And you knew so much about also the information to share with them, to take them to the different places. You're studying about the paintings and all these different things you could tell them about.
Yes, yes,
That's a
yeah, yeah.
wonderful thing. So I'm going to go move on to uh, the Mursi. Before I do, I just did want to show our listeners who were watching on YouTube that I was wearing my African shirt here today from uh, Nairobi with my special African earrings here that my
Okay.
husband David brought back when he was giving a talk at the Nelson Mandela University in George, South Africa in 2023. So very grateful for him bringing this to me and me being able to wear this here on our show today since we're in Ethiopia, Africa. So I wanted to start asking questions about um, the Mursi people. And I know now that you really got, so we never know this when we give a child a book, that that book could influence their future. And those pictures in that book that you read, that you were able to find
Yeah.
later in life, really planted seeds inside you to discover and do the work that you do today. And I think that's so important to be able to reach back and figure out where that moment happened and how important it is as adults that we do this for other children, giving them lots of different books of information that, and like you were saying, pictures you had never seen before, and the picture can tell an amazing story. So tell us about the Mercy. Who are they? Where they live? I was curious. I loved reading everything about them in the book. I have a couple of questions in this, which is the importance of cattle and do they have a long life expectancy? So I'm looking for tell us about the Mercy and, where do you find them and how this.
Okay. So first of all, Ethiopia is a very diverse country.
Hmm.
So there are about 85 ethnic groups. And nowadays, we don't use the term tribe because tribe has its negative connotation. So we prefer to use the term ethnic group. So the
Inter,
Mursi are
say it again,
et,
inter.
ethnic
Oh,
group.
ethnic group.
Ethnic group.
I'm losing my hearing. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. No. It's also the Ethiopian accents, the Ethiopian English. We call it Ethiopian English. That's what we speak here. Anyway, so remember there are 85 of them. About 50 of them are found in southern part of the country.
Mhm.
And then, surprisingly, in the southern corner of Ethiopia, very close to the Sudanese and the Kenyan border, there's a famous lake. I think everybody should know that lake, Lake Turkana, the
Yes.
northern extreme of Lake Kenya. Part of the bit of that lake is in Ethiopia. So actually, that lake gets almost all its water from rivers, especially River Omo from Ethiopia. So in that area, there live about 16 ethnic groups. Among them are the Mursi. Some of them are very small. The Kara people, they are estimated not more than 10,000. Maybe they
Mhm.
are like 5,000 or less.
That
Kara.
seems large to me, but that's
Uh,
considered small.
the Mursi are only about 10,000.
Wow.
So, generally, however, the area is known as the Omo Valley. Actually, the name Omo Valley actually came from the river Omo, and some of these people are known as Omotic people, or they speak Omotic language. So, like people known as the Hammer, people the Benna, people like the Bashada and the Kara. But the most interesting is are not Omotic; they are Nilotic. Or that means they are more related to the Nilo-Saharan people in
Hmm.
the Sudan. So it
Hmm.
seems they migrated in the distant past. Let us say nobody knows the exact time. Uh, in those days, there was no border, the Sudanese border, the Ethiopian border. So they crossed most likely in search of better grass, grazing land, and better water, moved across the Omo to their present territory. So on the left, on the west, there is a big river known as River Omo. On the east, there is another tributary of Omo, another river known as Mago. So their land is between that. Their neighbors include the Ari people and the Chai people across the Omo and the Bodhi people to the north. So the Mursi are agro-pastoralists. This is very important term. So they practice agriculture and at the same time they have animals. So they practice pastoralism, especially cattle.
Mhm.
So I couldn't tell you like how cattle are important to them. The cattle are very important. There's a term which the anthropologists use. Some people in East Africa, like the Maasai in Kenya, they think in terms of cattle. Whatever they think, whatever they say, whatever they do, largely, not everything, has something to do with the cattle. So if I mention one, for instance, names. So Mursi, the Mursi give names to the children related to cows, so bulls color. So for instance, in my book, I think you have seen a photo of like the second photo in the book is a person known as Olitula Olibui, a Mursi man. I met him just by accident. So this man is very, very kind Mursi man. He really, really helped me in understanding the Mursi culture. I read the literatures about the Mursi, like dissertations of David Turton, the first anthropologist who went there in 1968, and other literatures. But there are many, many things which are not included in the literatures.
I think
So
I have the picture right here of Oli.
Oli Tula Olibui. I
Yes.
couldn't tell you. Without this man, this book would have been like half baked. so, so I called him today and I told him about the event, about this podcast.
Oh,
So I invited
wonderful.
him. He is really very, very kind man. So why I mentioned him is that his name is Olitula. So I asked him, what does it mean? He said, it is a red and black bull.
Red and black bull.
And I said, are you sure? Your name is just that? He said, yes. And his father's name is another, Olitula Olibui. His father is another bull, another colored bull. So it's very common name in Mursi. So what does this says? These people really are very, very close or attached to their cattle. And to mention another one, when every Mursi man marries a Mursi girl, he have to give cattle to her parents and kin. So the tradition says the number is fixed, 38 head of cows and bulls have to be given. But everybody says, where do they get 38? But it can be paid in installment in the long term.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you ask them and closely, they say, oh, it could be like even 50, it could be even 60 every time this woman, the woman with this man took as a wife, give birth to a daughter, her parents would come and say, oh, our daughter gave you a daughter. So in the future, you are going to get a lot of cattle
Wonderful.
from this girl. So
So
there is that give us.
are you saying in this culture the woman holds some worth? Where I've seen in
Oh,
a lot of other cultures, it's the firstborn male that's the most important I mean, in my own Jewish culture, the firstborn male is like the most important person. And in a lot of cultures, the women are sort of second class. This sounds like the woman is honored when she gives birth to a girl.
yes, certainly, absolutely. Because the boy, remember, the boy is a liability because when he's married, the father, his parents, they have to lose their cattle because they have to give as a bride wealth. You
Ah,
see? But when they have a girl, immediately she's a source of cattle. And cattle are very important. See?
yes. This is
So this is one aspect. So if you you want me to continue other
Yes.
highlights of the Mursi, I can. So another interesting thing about the Mursi is they live very close to nature.
Mm-hmm.
When I say close to the nature, still the natural vegetation, much of the natural vegetation is still intact. The grass, the trees, the bush, and everything is intact. So they graze their cattle. They cultivate part of the land. They practice two types of farming. Many Ethiopians do not understand that. One of the farming is known as rain-fed farming. That's very clear. So they clear the bush and they plant sorghum. Sorghum is the most important, like their staple crop. So that's one. But the second one is very, very important. It's known as flood retreat farming.
Mm-hmm.
So this is farming along the river Omo, on the banks of, literally on the banks of the river Omo. You remember the river Omo is one of the largest river in Ethiopia. Its headwater is far, far north of the Mursi in central part of Ethiopia. It gets much of its water from the rainy season, during the rainy season in highland Ethiopia. Our rainy season in highland Ethiopia, including Addis Ababa, is June, July, August. So it's now starting. We're in the middle of, in the end of June. And then July and August, we will get heavy rain. So it flows down, and around August, in the Omo Valley, in the Mursi area, it reaches its maximum level, and it overflow the banks of the river. So the moment that happens, the Mursi start to get ready to plant sorghum. So when the river the water starts to recede, they follow the receding river and plant sorghum. Now remember, this river, when it overflows, it has brought and deposited a lot of silt
Yes.
from the mountains, minerals. Uh, so every year, these flood retreat farms are replenished with silt. So this is very reliable farming. So they plant that. But unfortunately, the Ethiopian government did something uh,
Was
very
it a
difficult.
bridge or a dam or
A
something? Or
dam known as the Gibe 3 Dam on the river Omo that created a problem for the Mursi. It's a hydroelectric dam. Much of the water at the end of the day, after generating powers, goes down. But you don't get like the flood uh, in August, September season as usual. So as a result, I think part of their flood retreat farming is affected. But anyway, farming is very important. So we said they are agro-pastoralist. Farming is very important. They eat sorghum, but at the same time, as we said, cattle are important. So they drink milk, they eat meat, and at the same time, they drink also blood. I think many people, it's very well known, like people like the Maasai drink blood. It's from the vein on the
Mhm.
neck, known as the jugular vein. They get the blood and they mix with blood and drink that. And the reason why I say they live close to nature is that part of their diet also comes from the wild. For instance, at least in the distant past, where elephants were abundant, elephants were part of their diet, buffalo, hippos, but they avoided certain animals like lions were not consumed, and leopards and others. And then what's fascinating, as part of my research for the book, I found out that they eat about 50 types of plants as salad or as cooked.
Raw.
So imagine like living in the bush, but at the same time they know that they have about 50 types of plants which are edible. So they supplement their diet, getting like vitamin A, and other vitamins. So that's also interesting. Even in their clothing, traditionally, the Mursi used to make clothes from bark by pressing, pounding bark of a certain tree. They used to make clothing out of that. Of course, the girls until now, they dress in, or they have dresses made out of skin, like kudu skin, antelope skin. So some researchers say this skin dresses last like 5 years, 4 years or so. So imagine in nowadays when people are talking about like environment, being about environmentally friendly, they have to
Mm-hmm.
think about the Mursi, because how many times we buy, people buy, not me, but people in America, for instance, buy clothes.
Yes, yes.
How many clothes people have in America? The Mursi may have like two clothes, but they last like 5 years. Clothes, when I say made out of skin, so that makes it special. Their houses, I think I have included a picture of a Mursi house, one of the pictures. It's
Mm-hmm.
like tiny circular house uh, made out of like branches and grass. Very simple. So a Mursi
And
woman.
how has how have they been affected by, like, you know, global changing in weather? Have they been affected where the flooding, have they had more drought or more flooding, or has the history of their location not really been affected that much by weather changes?
Uh-huh. So, in general, the Omo Valley, the lower Omo Valley, again, what many people do not understand is that it is known for its erratic rainfall.
Uh-huh.
So the rainfall is not or has never been reliable at all. So as a result, even before the current issue of global warming or issues like that, their life uh, was not stable because of
Hmm.
shortage of rain and drought. So that's why they have different mechanisms, like when the rain-fed agriculture uh, failed, they had to rely on the flood retreat farm. When sometimes both failed, they had to rely on their cattle. They could eat meat, but they could eat drink milk, and they could eat milk, meat, but they could also sell cattle to people live in the highlands, like the Ari. The territory inhabited by the Ari is wetter. I mean, gets much more rainfall. So as a result, they have better crop supply among the Ari. So they could exchange cattle to the Ari. So I would say, even before the current global warming related problems, they had very tough life. They survived. They managed to survive that for such a long period of time. I think they are fine. They are okay. And nowadays, they have also access to more wider markets if they can sell cattle and natural resources such as wild honey. They collect wild honey from the wild. So they sell these things, and they are more or less okay.
So what is their, do they live into their 70s, 80s, or how's their
Okay,
lifespan?
that one is a difficult question. Probably, maybe for the second edition, would include that. But again, in the book, there is one elderly man. Uh, he could be like maybe in his 60s. So, as part of my research, Olitullah is really good. He taught me different age grades. So they are children, they're young people, they're junior adults or junior warrior, senior warrior, and elders, and also other seniors. So it looks uh, in that age grade system, there are group of people who are finally retired from public meeting, from public responsibility. So it seems certain group of their people live into their 70s and 80s,
Hmm.
but probably not many. So I would say. So I don't want to guess, but I have met uh, several elderly women and men in Mursi village whenever we went there. So at least some of them live into their 70s and 80s.
So they must be and they must be wisdom holders of information. So I want to jump into uh, the cultural experience of the Mercy wearing plates in the lips, expanding the lips and the ears for wearing plates. And if you know, a couple of questions I have about it is I read in your book that it actually began back 5,000 years ago, the use of this. And I'm wondering whether there are other tribes, or not tribes, ethnic groups that also
That's
adopt,
good.
right, also adopt the process of ears and mouth extending. And it was very, I happen to have just read things about this, and I guess the information I read may be incorrect. So I was hoping you could shed lights on why this was actually done, because I heard two different stories, and one story was done, and this I read somewhere else, nothing to do with the Mercy people, but that in Africa, when the slave traders were taking thousands and thousands of people from villages, that this was done to supposedly ward off their desire for their women. Then I read that that really isn't true, that it wasn't used as a protection against slavery, and that it really had something to do with beauty and being able to have your daughter married in and you get a whole lot of cattle. So I was wondering if you could elaborate on why this is done, how long this has been done, and what was the information you received from the people themselves, not from some historian or anthropologist who went there and said, oh, they do this for this reason. And they don't even know why. And they write it, and then everybody thinks that's the true history. You're giving us the true history by speaking to the people directly. So
Yes.
if you could talk all about that.
Okay. So that is an interesting question. Of course, everybody uh, who travel to visit the Mursi uh, gets fascinated by their lip plate wearing tradition. And as the result, they want to know what's its source, why they start to wear this thing.
Yes.
So, as part of my research, of course, I read and asked people, but one of the most unforgettable answer came from a man named Oliserali Olibui, a Mursi man, probably I would say the most famous Mursi man, because almost every researcher who goes, he speaks English. He has been to Australia. So every researcher who goes down there, speak to him, uh, interview him. So I got his phone number and I called him. So, hello, Oliserali, how are you? So,
Here's a photo.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, uh, I asked him, can you tell me why the Morsi weirdly played? What's its purpose? He said, it's beauty.
Hmm.
He said it in English. So I said, aha. So then I asked him, when did it start? He said, oh, it's a long, long time ago. We don't know. So more interview with him and with other people, Olitula and other people. So it's really amazing. So every writer, especially in the past, write about lip plate, they think it's ugly. But for the Mursi, first of all, it's not ugly. Every foreigner writing, when I say foreigner, even Ethiopians from other parts of Ethiopia, writing about or talking about speaking about the Mursi lip plate, they think it's like a disfigurement. It's ugly, it's unattractive, it's disgusting. But when you ask the Mursi, no, 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 it's attractive. For instance, if a man, a Mursi man, marries a woman or a girl without a lip plate, his friends tease him, saying that, what kind of girl you made? She doesn't have lip plate. So imagine.
Ah,
So it's completely a different person. So to understand this custom, one has to forget his or her idea of beauty
yes.
and try to understand it's in a different way or in a Morsi way. So I think my study has already established that because I used not only my own interview, but there's a very interesting documentary known as Shooting with the Morsi. So in that documentary, this guy interviewed Morsi women in a different context. So they said it's beauty. And also interesting finding in my research, and also already other researchers already said it, but I also confirmed it. So when people ask them, why do you wear lip plate? They say, why not? I am not, I am not a Yidini. Yidini are a smaller ethnic group, even smaller than the Mursi, who live along the river Omo, whom the Mursi look down upon because one, they don't have cattle, two, because they don't wear lip plate. So for the Mursi woman, by wearing lip plate, they are showing we are different. We are not really those poor people who don't have cattle. So if a Mursi girl doesn't wear her lip plate regularly, because by the way, they don't wear the lip plate all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They remove it, especially they wear it for different occasions like wedding and other events. And also when they serve food, have you read that part? When they serve food to their husband, Morsi women wear their lip plate. So, uh, so when the Morsi woman was asked, why not you wear a lip plate? Or a Morsi woman may tell to her daughter, why not you wear your lip plate? Are you Yidini? Or something like that. Are you
Hey!
that group of people? So when you take into account all these things, the problem with us, with the outsiders, is that because we have a different concept of beauty, because we thought it's disfigurement, it's different. We thought, oh, it's like to make the women ugly, the girl is ugly, so that slave traders or slave raiders wouldn't trade their women. Uh, I have to make a point that the Mursi has never been affected by slavery until this day because their territory is isolated. Remember, what did I say at the beginning? They live between two rivers, the river Omo and the river Mago, and in totally vegetated area. Even in nowadays, when we travel there, we have to follow the trail, the road, which is open for the vehicles. Otherwise, it's not possible to walk away from the road, and because the grass is tall, and also there are wild animals and other things. So as a result, it's still the natural vegetation is there. Still, it's wilderness. So slave raiders and slave trade never affected the Mursi. And
Ah,
this was confirmed, for instance, by your countryman, a man named Donaldson Smith, who went to Mursi land, imagine, in 1895.
wow.
So he met the Mursi. He killed them some hippos because they didn't have guns in those days. So they were very happy. So they sold him ivory and provided them food, grains, and like that. So he made them friends for a couple of days. So he never talked about any trade of slavery in those days on the Mursi. So uh, the lip plate had no any connection. But I'm not saying maybe in some other African countries, like places like in Central Africa, In Chad, there were people who we used to wear lip plate. In those areas, it may have something to do with that.
So that could have been where the story got picked up. So then the Mursi are not the only people who have this as part of their culture to do this to the lips and the ears. This is also in some other ethnic groups as
Ethnic
well.
groups, yes. So remember, always keep in mind River Omo, just across River Omo, there are people known as the Chai, the Tirma, and a little bit across the Ethiopian border in southern Sudan, there is people known as the, in the mountainous region, the Bale people, the Bale
Mhm.
people. So remember, the Bale in Sudan, the Tirma and the Chai in Ethiopia, they were lip plates. These three group of people are together known as the Suri or Surma. So the Surma people wear lip plates. So there are a number of documentaries about the Mursi and the Surma. So these are the only people in nowadays known for wearing lip plate in Africa. In Amazon, the Kayapo people, I think they still wear lip plates. In those cases, in their case, it is the men who wear
The
lip plate.
men more than.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering where I'm wondering where, like, when you travel and you see certain things, you see how something got affected, and you go into another culture and you see them using or doing something you've seen in some other culture in some other place in the world. Because we don't know
Yes.
when people traveled in the old days by ship or however that was going on, where they picked
Yeah.
up these different ideas, or if they thought about it. Sometimes people wake up with a similar idea, but they've just both thought it at the same time. So this is a custom that's been around for a very long time, and it's also been practiced in other ethnic groups, not just the Mercy.
Yeah, one important point is that people forget that it's not only the Morsi, but also other people wear other things on their lower lip. For
Uh-huh.
instance, immediately north of the Morsi, there are people known as the body or men. So these people, uh, among these people, the women also wear a small, very tiny wooden plug on their lower lip. So then south of the Mursi, there are people known as the Kara. The Kara people wear uh, bead or metal, usually a nail, like literally a nail, as a decoration on their lower lip. It's also included in the book. So when you see all these things, it's not like the Mursi suddenly start to cut their lip and start to wear lip plate. It seems it's like evolution of different way of lip decoration finally evolved among the Mursi and the Surma into something big. So when you see that in that context, uh, I think we get the explanation. It's just like as adornment,
Hmm.
as a jewelry, but it looks different to us, to outsiders.
And so how are the next generation, the young people that are coming up today in their families? Because I've seen things, I feel very honored and privileged. I've been involved with a remote group of Huichol indigenous people who live in the mountains way high up in Mexico. And when I was there the first times, there was no electricity, there was no phones, there was no running water. And it was like they had lived thousands of years ago. But now I started going there in the 80s, the 1980s. And I did, by the way, I didn't drink the blood of the deer, but I ate the blood of the deer there, which I didn't know at the time, but as a they use blood as a form for healing and curing different sicknesses. You were saying they drink blood in different ethnic groups in Ethiopia.
Yes,
So what they do there is they dry the blood out until it comes out it becomes like a dried flat. The blood becomes all dried, and then they powder it up, and you just eat it with a tortilla. and
Okay.
it was very powerful medicine. I had cancer at the time, and when I took this, I felt like my body was giving so much nutritional value. But if they had said to me, "You're eating the dried blood of the deer," I'm sure I would have said, "Ugh, I don't want to do that, but I didn't know that's what I was eating, so I ate it. I thought maybe it was like jerky or something. I didn't know.
Yeah.
But was powerful medicine, which I think that a lot of the ethnic groups, especially, are saying how they eat 50 different plants. They have a lot of information that to share about healing with nature and healing with plants and things that they've done to survive where they lived to fight
Mhm.
malaria or the different bacterias or things that they have to deal with. So this brings me my question about shamanism. Is in this culture, so in the Huichol, the shaman is a very important position in the community, and that's the person who is like the doctor. He's the person that blesses your home or a birth, or he's there to attend the funeral. He or she has multi different things that they do within the community. Do the Mercy have that as well? And do they call that a shaman, or is there that kind of a thing there or not?
Yeah, I think yes, the shamanism is a broad concept. In general, they have, yes. For instance, there is a man considered to be like a ritual leader among them. He is known as Komoro. It's like an hereditary office. So
Mhm.
the next Komoro is the son of a previous Komoro or a priest, let us say. That's how they translate it in English. So, for instance, if when people are sick, he takes water and sprinkle on the animals, on the people, on their animals when the animals are also sick. So he tries to help them like that. And also there are women uh, considered to be like who have like shamanistic power. When a person is sick, they massage the body of that person, and they claim they managed to extract insects from the body of uh, the people, so the people feel better after that. And so they have things like this. But getting information, because I don't speak the language, getting detailed information about each practice is not possible for me. But in general, yes, they have traditional healers. Even when a woman gives birth, it is this woman or experienced woman who is considered to be like a traditional healer, comes her, she does a little bit of massaging, a little bit of like prayer, and try to help her.
And I think, did I read in your book that women there do, when they're giving birth, they give birth standing, not like
Yeah,
the terrible
that's
way
one
they
of
do
the.
in our country where they make you lay down, and it's a terrible way to be giving birth laying down.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. Yes, isn't it? Because I've never heard people giving birth standing, but it's based on a researcher who is a health researcher who lived among the Mursi for a certain period of time. So that's his finding. So not only standing, she has to move constantly. And
Yes, I
it
thought
must
that
be
was,
tiring, but they found out maybe it makes it easier or to make the delivery faster, maybe.
yes. I think so I've done it 3 times, and the more that it seems that the laying down seems the harder, where if you were to stand or squat to give birth, it seems like the just the gravity and everything else would be, it just seems much more logical. But the kind of condition a body is that's living in a village somewhere and hauling food and water is going to be different than an American body that's going to a grocery store and buying foods. So they have a stronger, healthier body. I gave birth to my last child underwater. She was born underwater. And it was the most beautiful way to give birth of all the 3 births I've had. and
Uh-huh.
the least one of there was just no feelings of the pain of childbirth and the pressure of going through contractions. When you're in
Okay.
water, you don't feel any of that. It's like it eases all of that pain and it makes it feel like I was 3 hours in the water. It felt like I was there for 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden she said, "Oh, the
Wow.
baby's coming now." And I was like, wow, you know. And when she was born, she was so relaxed and underwater, she was smiling and waving her hand as she came out in the water in the bath. So there was like no
Wow.
fear or tension or stress or crying in the birth. And the water was like a really beautiful healing element and way. Apparently, it's been practiced in Russia for a very long time. But for me, it was, I mean, I did that 30 years ago. That was not a very popular way to give birth, but turned out to be what I felt the best, best way if you're not going to do it in Africa and stand up, which would really be much, much better. So I want to go over just a little bit more. I have other some questions about your tour group and things, but I just want to see if I have any more things about the Mercy that I wanted to know about. Oh yes, I want to know how long they have been influenced from outside tourists visiting them? And have you, as a tour guide, felt what is the positive and negative ways tourists are affecting these people? Because I know from what I went through visiting the Huichol, I was one of the first white, I was told I was the first white person to come there that was a woman and visit them in this remote area that's 10,000 feet elevation. And I never wanted to do anything to change them. I only wanted to do things I could if I could help bring them shoes or jackets or food or things like this. And I was criticized by anthropologists saying, "Oh no, you're not supposed to do anything. It's their own way." But a lot of these people are in the 21st century now. So all of a sudden, we Chols have telephones. The Mercy, I don't know if they have cell phones or if they're getting connected to the rest of the world with internet. I'm not sure what's happening, but some of it, like you're not going to be able to stop the progress and growth happening, but how do you protect the people from not being hurt or damaged by those outer influences? And yet, why shouldn't they have some of the modern things if it helps their life? I'm just saying, I've been in that situation and I don't know what was it like for you going there with the Mercy people. Do you think this was a good thing that you're bringing tourist people there, or do you think are they welcoming of it, or do the elders say, "I wish they never came," or do they say, "We're so glad they're here," or do the young people say, "I'm not doing lip anymore," you know?
Uh,
So it's a giant
okay.
question.
Yeah. That's like chapter 8 of the book, Visiting the Mursi. So, visiting the
Yes.
Mursi. Uh, when they start to read the literatures, there are some people who are critical of like tourism and tourists visiting the Mursi, because at the end of the day, it's intrusion. Like me from Addis Ababa, tourists from America, by the way, the number one travelers coming to Ethiopia are Americans, by the way,
Oh, that
as a
was one of my
country.
questions. Oh,
But as a continent, Europe is number one. But as a country, America is huge. Americans really travel to Ethiopia. So we go there. So what do we do? What do we do? We go there to see them. So let us think, if people come to my village when I was a child, just to look at us, well, uh, I wouldn't I wouldn't feel like okay. But what about if they give me money? For instance, I say, okay, come and give me money or something like that. I make money if people come and see me, see and pay me. So that's what's happening in the Morsi. Just to give you a little bit of background. So it was very remote area. Still, to some extent, some parts of the Morsi territory still there is no road, has no road, and still there is no cell phone service. Some part, but other part they are getting all these services. So it was the first time an anthropologist went down there was in 1968. A British anthropologist by the name Dawit Teferi. That's the first photograph in the book. So he went down there. There was no road, so he had to walk all the way from the main road down to where they live. Then, I think in 1974, he made documentaries about them, known as the Mursi trilogy, 3 different documentaries. So I think they were shown on BBC and maybe on other channels. So people start to learn about them, and of course, they wanted to visit them, but there were no roads. So accessing them was very difficult. But anyway, they managed. So in 1980s, late 1980s and 1990s. And then I think in 1990, not necessarily about the Mursi, 2 photographers by the name Angela Fisher and Carol Beckwith, they published a big photograph book known as African Arc. It's all about Ethiopia, but the most fascinating part is the photographs from the Omo Valley. Unfortunately, they didn't visit the Mursi, but they visit the Kara people, the Hammer people, with body painting and dances and everything. I think people really wanted to see these people. Again, that's really added more attention or more attention or idea or interest about the Mursi. So people start to travel to visit the Mursi. But when they were trying to visit them, the Mursi were not interested to meet these foreigners. So they start to give them gifts of razor blade, needles and soaps and things like that. And they start to make them agree to be photographed. So that's how they started. And then later on, they start to give them money. So gradually, visiting the Mursi became very much associated with them, like with taking photographs and paying them money. So especially the Mursi women with a big lip plate started to make good money out of photography. So, which is this is included in my book. So Mursi man jokingly says, "Oh, a Mursi girl or woman with a good lip plate could make her husband sort of like rich in Qatar, because she makes money. She could even buy cows from the money she made from tourism." So they really liked it. So some of the girls walk 8 hours from their village to the road where they are villaged, which are regularly visited by tourists. Because as I said, still most part of the Mursi land is not accessible by vehicle. So the Mursi are interested. But the change is happening. Tourists, what did they bring? What do they bring? They bring soaps, we said, razors and other things too. And people now, the Mursi now make money and buy things like fabrics and household utensils. Everything they used as a household for cooking and everything were locally made. But nowadays they buy from markets like Jinka, like Barka. These are markets in Ariland. So things are changing. So I would say they are changing fast, especially over the last 10 years, especially the governments like setting up big plantations for sugarcane and other purposes, and big sugar mills are being established. So as a result, they are changing fast. Also, the government is like opening schools It's a national policy now. Children have to be educated, enrolled in school. Compulsory education is the policy of like the government, even if it's very hard to enforce, because children in the Omo Valley, they really work for their parents, herding the cows, guarding crops, and in other areas. So as a result, it's very difficult to convince the people to enroll their children. But gradually that's happening. My consultant or my friend Olitula Olibui, the kind Mursi man, now he moved to a town known as Kayafer. Now he's educating his children. The other Mursi man I know, Olisarali Olibui, even he sent his children to school in Arbamij for better schools, because he thought the school in Jinka is not good enough. So he sent his boy to Jinka. So it's changing now. When these children come back to their community, I think they would influence. Already Olitula has a mobile phone. That's how I did part of my interview. Whenever I have a question, I would call him. So most of the time his phone wouldn't work because of he would run out of charge, out of battery. So, but half of the time, or less than half of the time, I would manage to find him. So it's changing. Still, however, they don't have running water. They don't have electric supply. And what else? They don't have cell phone connection in much of the territories in Mursi land. They don't have high schools. They don't have hospitals nearby. The nearest hospital is like about 70 miles in Jinka. So mothers, when they have complications during labor, they have to be taken to the hospital in Jinka. So it's like a mix of remoteness and also fast change happening especially over the last 10 years.
I saw this with the Huichols, how the change, because nobody could access where you went. When I went there the first time in the 80s, you had to walk for 16 hours and ride a burro. There was no roads to get there. And the roads and the transportation providing buses now is helping the people, but it's also then bringing in people from all over to a place that was considered very remote before. And I'm thinking how in the old days they must have bartered for everything and didn't need things like money. So the use of money must be newer in their culture. I don't think that's been
Oh yeah.
right.
That's interesting issue again. That's interesting issue. We tend to forget now. Now they use money, but by the way, in 2006, 20 years ago, it's unbelievable. Now it's 20 years ago. I did a research for my MA thesis on the history of Jinka. So I stayed in Jinka for about 4 months. So during that time also I had a chance to access archives like old government papers in the archives in Jinka. So during that time, I found some information on the Mursi, even if my interest was not the Mursi, it was Jinka. So one of the information is that policemen and teachers were assigned in a town known as Hana, a little bit north of Mursi land. One, they had to walk for 6 days to reach that place from Jinka.
Oh wow. 6
Now
days
it's
of
possible to
walking.
drive. It's possible to drive like in 3 hours, even if the road is not that good. But imagine like 6 days, they had to get all their food supply from Jinka, because even if the Mursi produced sorghum, they were not interested in paper money or in cash. And those civil servants, they didn't have anything to give to the Mursi. Like what the Mursi wanted was like beads, maybe bullets, maybe maybe clothes, fabrics, and other things. So gradually, those civil servants learned and start to barter with them
Hmm.
with these things. They have to buy these things from Jinka and take them down there. And they say if they had this supply, things were very cheap to buy from the Mursi if they barter. But if they wanted to buy them in cash, things were impossible, or it was impossible to get supply from the Mursi. So this was, I was talking like 1970s and a little bit of 1980s. So it's not long time ago. That's when I was in school.
Hmm. So I have another thing I don't want to forget about asking about, which is I can't help thinking about my experience with the Huichols in asking you questions about the Mercy, because it's a similar kind of very ancient culture that I was welcomed into, and it was a very, and still am involved with a very amazing experience. So I know a lot of different information from the people, not from the things that are written in books by anthropologists. And
Mhm.
there, I don't know how the government treats the Ethiopian government treats the Mercy, where the Huichol, they were given an area of land that was considered worthless back when it was given to them, I guess, or not. They were pushed way up into the mountains where nobody was going.
Mhm.
And that was, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Well, what has happened is in the past, in the recent, I don't know when it started. I don't know if it's the 60s or the 70s or the 80s. I'm not sure when it began, but the government of Mexico discovered that their land that they gave them all was rich in minerals and pine trees.
Mhm.
And to live in that area of Mexico, you have to be a Huichol. And if you're a Huichol, you're given the land. The land is theirs. So they can farm it, which is they depend on their cattle and their crops of beans and corn. And my wondering is that what started happening to them is that they were not educated. And like you're saying, some of the families are now educating their children that he brought his to another village so they could get an education. The importance of this in protecting their future and land is this education, because a lot of these Huichols didn't know anything that was happening when other people from uh, businessmen wanted to get that minerals. They wanted to get those pine trees, and they'd swindle them out of the land somehow. And because they couldn't read or write or Spanish is a second language for them. Huichol is their language. So a lot
Mhm.
of things happened that were not protecting or helping their community because nobody knew what they were really signing or what was, and people were losing land that was really given to them. So and then now in the more recent, the Mexican government, they've had enough lawyers and people writing papers and things to protect this ethnic group of people, and they realize now what a special group this is, and that they need to protect them, not have them have everything taken away from them. Does the Ethiopian government take care of the Mercy people that way, or do they do things to, like, if you're someone there, how do you get your land and house? Do you just go out into the village and then you say, okay, this is my place now, or how do they get to own the land, or own their or have their place?
Okay, so in there, not only the Mursi, but in most Omo Valley people's culture, land is communal, communally owned. It
Ah.
belongs to the community, except the piece of land a person is cultivating for a certain period of time. So, for instance, I talked about flood retreat farming.
Hmm.
So how that works is that they practice what we call shifting cultivation. So what they do, a family goes to a certain bushy area, clear the bush, burn the stumps, anything remaining on the ground, and they plant sorghum for 1 year, 2 year, maybe 3, 4 years. as long as the soil has its fertility. When the soil loses its fertility, they abandon it and clear another piece of land. So there is no shortage of land among themselves. Now, after 5 years, another person may clear that land abandoned by the previous person. So that's one. Grazing land is also communally owned, even if they have different areas allocated for different clans within themselves. So that's how they live. But the national law, the Ethiopian law, land anywhere in Ethiopia belongs to all Ethiopians.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that's the problem. So when they decided to build 20 years ago, when they decided to build the dam on the river Omo, further north of the Mursi, they were also thinking to start plantations, sugar and other plantations further south in the Omo Valley, very close to the Mursi. So there was some discussion with the people, but because of this policy that the land belongs to the whole Ethiopian, so even me, according to this law, even me sitting in Addis have a share in that land. So it belongs to all of us. So the government hasn't compensated them that much. So part of their flood retreat land is affected by these irrigation projects. So there has been a lot of uproar and protest on the internet led by anthropologists of the Omo Valley. Most of them are not Ethiopians. Some of them are Ethiopians. Most of them are maybe Europeans. Most of them are Europeans, maybe some Americans. So, but they're only telling part of the story. Yes, the government's like ignoring the interest of the people, dispossessing the people. But if people are, as part of my research, I found out that even before that project, even before those plantations, the Mursi had very, very tough life because of the erratic rainfall. So as a result, their life was really has been really very tough. So the government intervention makes their life tougher. So what activists or people really want to help the Mursi should do, this is my opinion, is that to push the government to involve the Mursi in irrigation, to benefit from the irrigation projects, even from the employment, because their life with their growing population and dwindling wildlife and changing rainfall pattern is not sustainable. So if you, in the book, it says when there's drought and food shortage, the Mursi eats only once a day. This is not today. It's like in 1970s, even before that, even before the plantation. So blaming the government project for everything wrong is not good, but trying to make something out of it is a wiser idea.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, the population of Ethiopia is also growing. We need hydroelectric power for industries, for different businesses to employ young people, maybe even Mursi. Where do the educated Mursi boys go at the end of the day? They may go to Jinka and may work in the health service. They may work in the shops, in the barber shops, as administrators and like that. So they are not isolated people any longer. So they are like part of the larger Ethiopia. So that's how I see it. I think it's healthy, but I see a little bit of unhealthy, too protective way of thinking among anthropologists. So I don't agree with that. So for instance, they don't push much about educating the Mursi, about opening schools. For instance, one very influential anthropologist could do something like this. They could invite a charity, which is really good in running schools, good schools, so they could persuade them to educate the Mursi without changing or without forcing them to change their way of life, but mainly focusing on educating them. If they do that, we would have hundreds, maybe thousands of educated Mursi who could fight for their own rights, understanding the Ethiopian law, international law about
Exactly.
indigenous rights and things like that. So that's my view. So I'm really encouraging Olitula Olibui, my Mursi friend, to educate his children. So in the future, I think more and more Mursi people would do that.
That great answers. So I'm going to quickly go back down here and just see if there's anything else I wanted to ask you about the Mursi. And then I wanted to talk just a little bit about
Okay, I think we have some problem with the
questions in talking about the other things. Okay. So, all right, so this will be my last question, and then I want to talk just a little bit about the other tours and your special bird tours and things. What uh if a person, if a tourist wants to travel to uh on a journey with you to go see the Mursi people, what do they have to do as an individual for their to go there? Do they have to have malaria shots? Is it what, how is it for a foreigner to travel in that part of the country?
Okay, so let me start by saying the Mursi are very, very extremely popular. When I uh, became a guide for the first time, like in the early 2000s, me and my friend Dawit, we have interesting story. The roads were very difficult after the rains. Even after a small rain, it would turn into very muddy, so it would be very, very
Mhm.
difficult. So especially I remember we had an American company which used to send us tourists, wilderness travel. I think they are from Los Angeles. I think they are based in Los Angeles. Anyway, so the Morsi is was very important part of their itinerary. So because of the road, sometimes it was very hard to reach the Morsi village. So the company I worked for, they would rent a small aircraft. They would fly these people to a Morsi village, visit them, and return them. But not every company could do that. So as a result, many people who couldn't visit the Morsi, they were so unhappy. Even if they
Wow.
visited the Hammer, the Kara, and everybody, unless they saw the Mursi, they couldn't feel that they really, really had a nice time in the Omo Valley. So that was in the past. But in nowadays, the road has improved, so that's not an issue. So what we do, people, let us Americans, when they come to Ethiopia, usually they come for about 10 days tours. The Omo Valley takes about 7 days, maybe a little bit of Addis. So totally 10 days. Some Americans, or half of the time, people also come for 2 weeks. If that's the case, 1 week in northern part of Ethiopia, 1 week in southern part of Ethiopia. In
Mhm.
general, the risk for malaria is low in the highland part of Ethiopia. Many people forget that much of the Ethiopian landscape is mountainous. like above 2,000 meters. That's like about 7,000 feet above
Mm.
sea level. By the way, Addis Ababa, where I am now, is one of the highest capitals in the world after Bolivia, after Cueto. So after La Paz, I mean in Bolivia, and Cueto. So the third highest capital in the world is what Addis is. So malaria is not an issue. But in the Omo Valley, it's an issue, but it's seasonal. It's after the rainy season, the risk of malaria. But every traveler, when they travel to Africa, they get a shot or they bring with them malaria. You take few days before you travel and a couple of tablets while you are traveling. So as far as I know, I've been doing this for over 20 years. So people have not been affected. I have so many
Great.
American friends from Chicago, from California, and other places. So that's not an issue. But in general, when they talk to their doctors, so they ask them to take a vaccine for what you call hepatitis B and hepatitis
Oh,
C and things
right,
like
right.
that. So, but that is like fear of the unknown. People who
Hmm.
haven't been to a part of the world where they haven't been before, so they may be concerned. Otherwise, it's now very well established trip. Even it's possible to fly now to Jinka, Ethiopian Airlines. By the way, the best airlines in Africa flies to Jinka a couple of days a week. So in nowadays, actually, we drive one way to see the landscape and also other people on the way, and then we fly to Jinka. So we visit the Mursi in the morning, and we drive back to Jinka in the afternoon. So it's now easier. Then we do other people like the Hammer people, about 70 miles also away from the Mursi. The Kara people. So the Kara people, I have to mention, they are very famous for their body painting. You know, a
Hmm.
bird known as guinea fowl, a
Don't
bird
know
known
that.
as guinea fowl, very common bird in African savanna. It's like a blackbird with white spots. So the Kara people, they have white painting. They paint their body painting, I mean. So they paint their face and the body with, so they are very famous for that. So we include all those things. As I said, a week, 10 days would do it.
Hmm. So, since we're getting close to uh, towards the ends of our interview, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about, do you say is Nightjar? Is that the name of your
Yes,
tour?
yeah.
So if you could talk a little bit about your company Nightjar and your bird watching tours. How many tours do you do a year? And is there best times of the year to visit Ethiopia? And if you have a little tiny minute to talk just a little bit about what the Bale Mountains or Simeon,
Yes,
uh,
yes.
and if you could just speak a little bit about that and about your company.
Okay, so let me start from the attractions. We call them attractions in Ethiopia.
Hmm.
So the Bale and the Simen Mountains, these are mountainous region, one in the north, one in the southeastern part of the country. The Simen Mountains is very famous for its breathtaking landscape. So thousands of travelers visit that area a year, and but one of the most memorable trip I ever done to that part of Ethiopia, yes, is in 2019 with an American group. They are really rich Americans organized by a rich American company, not by me. So they hired helicopters to
Wow, very
appreciate the
rich.
land, to appreciate the landscape. Uh, so uh, we flew over the mountains. The pilots were really good. Even we landed in some inaccessible parts of the mountains
Wow.
on top of like a rugged landscape. So the organizer of this trip is very famous, internationally very famous man, Geoffrey Kent. He is a founder and owner of an American, it's international, it's based also in American tour company known as Abercrombie and Kent. So he brought his friends. So at the end of the trip, he said he traveled 17 million miles.
Wow.
And has never seen a landscape like this. So since then, I have begun taking the Simien Mountain very, very seriously, because every time we go, we find it fascinating. Our travelers find it fascinating. But when we hear sometimes who run tours all over the world, even Antarctica and Siberia and other places, so you give value to such a comment. And the Bale Mountain in the southeast is another mountainous region. It's unique because it includes an Afro-Alpine landscape. It is above 12,000 feet and above the tree line. So in Africa, the tree line is a little bit lower than that. Anyway, trees do not grow up there, but it has its own vegetation, everlasting, high pericum and like that. So it's known as the largest Afro-Alpine, the Plateau, the largest Afro-Alpine habitat in Africa. So it's not barren. There is no tree. There is a wolf species which lives there, only found in Ethiopia, known as Ethiopian wolf. So people come to see this animal. It's an interesting animal. It's distantly related with the coyote in America and gray wolf in Europe. And we have probably only about 4,000 of them, 400 of them, sorry, not 4,000, 400 of them. And this animal feeds on rats. Especially there's a very big rat known as a giant mole rat. So it's a unique species, so one has to go there. And also there are a couple of other mammals. There's a big horned animal known as Nyala, only found in Ethiopia. And the bird species is so fascinating. So the Bale Mountain sometimes is known as the land of endemism. Endemism means unique. So endemic means unique. So it came from that word. So there are certain species of birds, certain species of animals only found in the Bale Mountains, even not found in other parts of Ethiopia. So for that, also vegetation only found in that part of Ethiopia. So it's very unique. So I think one of the highlights of Ethiopia is visiting the Simien Mountains, the Bale Mountains, and I forgot also the Denakil Depression. By the way, we have in Ethiopia one of the lowest places on earth with active volcano and very beautiful, colorful hot springs in Afar, the Denakil Depression in northeastern part of Ethiopia. So we have some of the lowest places on earth and some of the highest places in Africa in Ethiopia.
Very, very fascinating.
And then to say a few things about the Nightjar Tours, it was founded by me and a couple of other colleagues. All of us have university education background in addition to tourism, our training in tourism. So we always make sure people get in-depth knowledge when they travel in Ethiopia. We always say hotels, if you have money, you can get the best hotel in Ethiopia. But by traveling with us, you can get the best, some of the best guides in the country. One thing we make sure when we organize tours, we want people to have first-hand experience with the people. For instance, when we visit the Hammer people in the Omo Valley, we make sure people at least once visit a private home and have coffee in a traditional way. The Hammer people make coffee in a big pot and they serve it in a big gourd. So you drink that. In Ethiopia, the staple food is known as injera. It's made out of teff. It's like flat pancake. There are so many Ethiopian restaurants in America and in California. Maybe one day, please try
We,
it.
I just only 2 years ago, I think, someone was visiting my daughter and he brought Ethiopian food. And I said, "Where did you get this?" And he said, in Santa Rosa, you have an Ethiopian restaurant. I had never had Ethiopian food. It was so delicious. And that special pancake thing you're talking about,
Yes, that's injera. So you know.
that had to be made by someone in their family that was the special woman who only she knew how to make that perfectly. And it was such delicious, healthy, wonderful food that you're making me think I got to go over there and get another meal to go of
Okay,
the
so
Ethiopian food.
we take travelers to a private home to try injera, to make injera
Yes.
and make it and taste it. So experiences like this, most other tour companies do not provide, but we provide. So if there are some Americans interested for a new destination, you are welcome.
Well, that's the only way I like to go to another country is where I can be with the people, not where I don't want to be a tourist. I want to be
Exactly.
someone that gets to intermingle and share each other's time or energy. And I just have to tell you, before we started our podcast, I thought to myself, I do want to ask him about the birds and what kind of birds that they may be having in Ethiopia, different birds we've never seen before. And as I was thinking, I said, God, I'd love to have a bird come in our house one day because I have hummingbirds here.
Uh-huh.
And just 5 minutes before we started our show, my husband said, "There's a bird flying around in the kitchen. I don't even know how it got in because all the doors are closed." So I had to help catch this bird, right? And I knew we had our time, but I had got to have my hands around this, wild bird that just flew in. I don't know what kind of bird it was. And then we opened the doors wide and then it flew out. But it just came in right before, and I just felt like this bird was like a little messenger for me to have this Ethiopian show with you. And I just
Uh-huh.
wanted to hear just a little, I want to just sort of end on you talk about doing things during the tours where you educate people about the bird life and about the birds. And I'm wondering, is this a land where there's peacocks, or is this a place where there's a lot of
Ah,
eagles or
okay.
wild birds, or what is natural or native to the
That's that's interesting, Gail. So your name is Gail. So I say Gail, yes?
Gale, Gail, Gale.
Gail. So it's known as bird watching. It's its own specialty type of tour.
Uh-huh.
Especially Europeans from Britain and other countries. By the way, many Americans are also joining, travel all over the world to see birds which they have never seen before.
Right.
On the planet, there are about 10,000 birds. So their aspiration is to see all of them
Oh,
in their
that's a
lifetime.
good goal.
In their lifetime. Now, the issue is that some of the birds are country specific. So when they come to Ethiopia, they focus. In Ethiopia, we have about 950 species of birds. Ethiopia is one of the best places for birding in Africa.
Oh.
So, with a regular cultural trip, especially this is the case with the British,
Mhm.
there come people who are interested in bird watching with the bird book on Ethiopia with binocular and everything. So at the end of the trip of the day, especially in the morning before the beginning of the regular trip of visiting a church or the people, I take them out for a walk. So I say, okay, tomorrow morning we will have a bird watching opportunity. I know this is a cultural tour, but since you are here, if you are interested, this is a bonus. So out of 10 people, one or two or three come with their binocular. So we walk around and spot the birds. Every one of us have our bird book
Hmm.
with all the 950 birds included. So what you do from experience, you know which page to go. So, for instance, if I saw your bird today, I'll immediately get my book. So check on the book. So we narrow it down. We look at it if it's still there again and find out. So that's the excitement. Some of the bird watchers, they take this experience, this aspiration too far. They want to do only that. So they never join a trip like this. They only join a bird watching trip. So they have a checklist, list of the birds in a certain country. So they tick, tick. So we have some beautiful birds. So if I mention one of them, there is a Turaco. Turaco, known as Prince Ruspolis Turaco, discovered by an Italian prince in southern part of Ethiopia. It lives in very small area. So when these bird watchers come, they have to go to that places, to that place to see this special bird. They have to go to the Bali Mountains. So they, if they don't see it, that would be a very bad day for the guide. Would take them because
Well,
uh,
it's wildlife. You can never predict where they're going to be.
that's the thing. So that's the problem with bird watching. Bird watching.
Well, I want to say that we have to wind down now because we've gone, oh, almost 2 hours. And I've been finding this too fascinating for us to stop. So I wanted to just listen to everything you had to say. So this is the point where I first want to just tell uh, our listeners that you have a website for Nightjar Tours, which is www dot lowercase nightjartour.com. And if they go to that website, they'll find a way to be able to connect to you. Plus, all the information I will have, your email and your website will be on our description. And this is the part in the show where I ask if there's any last words of wisdom you'd like to share with our listeners before we sign off today.
Okay, so my last word of wisdom is that the more I learned about the people of the Omo Valley, the more I find them fascinating. They have very little in terms of material possession. They have they don't have access to education, but they have amazing wisdom.
Mhm.
One of them is living life as simple as possible with very little possession. Amazingly, even with not much diverse food. For instance, the Mursi, they mainly eat sorghum, meat, but the most important of all, along with sorghum, is milk. They look very healthy. They look very fit. They look very happy. So
Mhm.
I always, when we discuss with friends, I always say, what is all this discussion about? Nutrition, eat protein, carbohydrates, something like that. You know the Mursi, yes. What do they eat? They mainly eat sorghum and milk and something like that. So I think in the future, science may discover, but I think they have discovered simple life, living
Mhm.
with what you have without bothering much. It's a great lesson. Many people in Ethiopia who bother about many things which they don't have. Many people in the world which who bother about things which they don't have. If they come and just stay with the Mursi for 1 or 2 days, I think that may change their attitude about life or the meaning of life.
That's very beautifully said. And I agree because I think also these people that hold a tremendous amount of wisdom also are very spiritually evolved. And so when you spend time with them, it helps you to start looking at the spirituality in yourself, as well. So I'm ready to take a plane, but I can't go anywhere right now, but I would love to join you there.
Okay.
So, I want to thank you so much for being with us here today. And I want to thank you for coming from all the way from Ethiopia and being on our show and reaching out to be here. Otherwise, I never would have found you in a million years. So this was just a joy and an honor for me to have you here today on a small, medium, at large podcast. And I want to thank
Okay.
my son Richard for producing the show. And I want to thank my daughter Nancy for posting the show on YouTube, Spotify, Google, and all the other podcast social media sites. She does an excellent job with. And I want to thank my husband David for assisting in writing my descriptions for the show. And I want to thank all of you listeners for hanging in there with us. We're on our fifth year of podcasting, and it's been these last few shows coming out have been very international with people talking to us from many different countries this month. So I want to thank you all for being here. Remember to share your stories because short stories can heal, and we'll see you soon. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and we'll talk soon. And you just
Okay.